Welcome to the Private Practice Startup Podcast, where we help mental health professionals grow their dream practices and live a life they love. We chat with successful private practitioners, business coaches, and marketing experts, bringing you tons of practice building tips. We invite you to take advantage of our private practice paperwork and our signature marketing e-course. And we have a gift for you. This is the exact methodology we use to create our six-figure private pay practices and have helped many other therapists do the same. Go to privatepracticestartup.com and on the homepage, click the button to download a free copy of your dream private practice playbook. Now on to today's episode.
Hey there, welcome back to another episode of the Private Practice Startup Podcast. Man, we are over 300 episodes in, and Kate and I have been wanting to host someone about this topic, but we haven't found the right person until now. So we're very excited about today's guest and the topic. It's very important, especially where we are in our economic times here. So it's definitely a topic we all want to be talking about and plan for sure. But before I introduce today's guest and topic, we hope that you guys joined us last week as we continue to talk about what is going on in the economy and business. And of course, we had the awesome and amazing Allison per year talking about how to recession-proof your private practice. So if you listen to any episodes during these times, these are probably two of the most important episodes that you are going to listen to. So don't keep them to yourself. Definitely share them with friends, with colleagues. You want to make sure their financial health and their business continues to go strong, especially during these times of recession. So today's guest is Dave Frank of Turning Point Planning. And Dave is a financial planner for therapists specifically. How cool is that? We've had a lot of different folks on the podcast who niche and specialize in therapists, and we hadn't found a financial planner yet until now. So shout outs to our good friend Ernesto Segismundo for introducing us to Dave. So Dave, he helps therapists navigate every element of their financial lives, from understanding their practice, profit and loss, and building a personal budget, and to managing student loan debt and investing for retirement and everything in between. But don't let his love of the tax code and spreadsheets scare you off. You're just as likely to find him with his nose buried in one of his Pema Chodron's books as reading up on the latest financial planning techniques. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks so much. I'm really excited to be here.
As I'm reading your bio, I'm like laughing to myself because I am a little bit geeky. I am one who actually likes to read tax books, and I love numbers. I don't like crunching the numbers. I just love to look at them and analyze them. But yes, I've read a bunch of different tax books, and all my accountants in my life have been very impressed about the questions that I ask because I just think it's so interesting. So I'm
with you.
I get it. And I love that you love Pema Chodron. That's awesome. So before we get started and dive into this very important topic, let's just take a quick moment for our sponsor.
Is managing your practice stressing you out? Try Therapy Notes. It makes notes, billing, scheduling, and telehealth a whole lot easier. Check it out, and you will quickly see why Therapy Notes is the highest rated EHR on trustpilot.com, with over 1,500 verified customer reviews and an average customer rating of 4.9 and 5 stars. You'll notice the difference from the first day you sign up for a free trial. They offer live phone support 7 days a week, so when you have questions, you can quickly reach out to someone who can help, and you're never wasting your time looking for answers. If you're coming from another EHR, they make the transition really easy. Therapy Notes will import your client's demographic data free of charge during your trial, so you can get going right away. Use the promo code PPS, as in Private Practice Startup, to get 2 free months to try out Therapy Notes for free with absolutely no strings attached. And remember, telehealth is included with every subscription, absolutely free. Make 2022 the best year yet with Therapy Notes.
So Dave, did your journey, was it a straight linear line right into finances, or was it more of a circuitous route?
That's I just celebrated my 46th birthday. So,
Happy birthday.
I've been around thank you. So I've been around for a little bit of time, and that's such an interesting question, right? Because I think the first 5 or 6 years of my professional life, I did go right into finance, and I was working in investment banking and doing all these cool finance things, cool to us finance storks. And I was laboring under this illusion that life is sort of this straight, smooth trajectory of like sort of up and to the right, just like things are getting better, career is progressing. And then, then life happens, right? And like you get thrown curveballs. And yeah, I mean, so many things have changed in my life, including professionally. I've worked in finance my entire life, but in so many different types of roles. And when I sort of hit it feels like such a cliche, right? But it's like sort of right around 40, right after 40, it's like, okay, cue the midlife crisis. And it's just like, man, is this it? It's just like, I liked the technical skills I was using. Like, I'm a dork. I like numbers. I like spreadsheets. I like learning about tax law. I think all this stuff is fascinating, and I like using those technical or quantitative skills. But the mission that I was serving by using those skills, to me, finally I woke up and I was like, this can't be it. I've got to be doing something more important. And that's when I pivoted into the world of personal finance and helping individual folks facilitate and improve upon their own financial health. And so that's how I got into financial planning. It was a long, very circuitous route, which I think is just sort of like what life is like for a lot of folks.
It is.
Yeah.
This is what life looks like. Now, how did you become a specialist in working with therapists particularly?
Yeah. So great question. I love talking about this. So there was this whole kind of career switch about 4 years ago now. And so I knew, I was like, okay, I'm going into personal financial planning. I'm going to help people with this super important element of their life, which is confusing and overwhelming and paralyzing for a lot of people. And I was really excited about it, but I wanted to make sure that, me starting my own business, like I'm a small business owner, just like many therapists. I wanted to make sure that I could make a real impact and have a business that supported my great life without me getting burned out. And so the answer that was eventually appeared to me was just like, define your niche, get really clear about who you serve and how you serve them. And there's all kinds of benefits to that, but you got to pick the niche first. And I think for a lot of folks, that's really, really difficult. And it was a real struggle for me. And finally, I was working with both a therapist and a life coach during this transitional period. And it was the coach who reflected back to me. He was like, well, Dave, what do you think about working with therapists? He's like, look, it's a population that could use the help. They're small business owners. They're not typically think of themselves as money minded or really good with numbers, even though they all have the ability to be, but they could use some guidance. And he said, Barry was the coach's name. And he said, you kind of speak this language. He's like, I think you could really resonate with this population. And it was like, sometimes I say it's like a light bulb went off, but really it was more than that. It was like a lightning bolt. It was just like, boom. Yeah. Absolutely. No questions. I was just like, yeah, this is it. This is absolutely the right set of folks to be working with. And although I've second guessed virtually everything I've ever done in my career and even this building, that is a decision that I haven't. It just felt right.
I love that story. And we need you in our lives. And we love that you're niching in therapists. And it is a population that definitely has a lot of issues with money mindset. And, so many therapists, when they begin to do the mindset work and they get into private practice and they start, making a decent income and living and starting to live their dream life, a lot of times they aren't investing or thinking about all of the other aspects. And it really is important having a good financial house as well, and that being healthy as well as everything else. So we love that you're here in our space. Yeah.
I'm super excited to be here. And I think this stuff is a journey. It's a practice. It's not something that we show up and are just like, oh yeah, this finance stuff, easy, simple. I'll just sit down and do that. There's resistance, there's anxiety, there's uncertainty, there's worry, there's overwhelm. And I think And shame, honestly, the shame shows up a lot of times. And I think the voice that shame takes on in a lot of folks' head is with the shoulds. I should have done this earlier. I should be on top of this. I should know how to do this. If I were really if I'm good at my finances or really a good practice owner, I would be able to figure this out more easily, or it would just come to me. Kind of comparing with others and despair, compare and despair is sort of the expression that I like to use. And it's just it's all okay, no one gets taught this stuff unless you're like me and decide to go to school for finance. You're just grad schools don't really teach it. You're just sort of expected to figure this stuff out, which is really, really difficult. So kind of I think the first step is always just to be compassionate with yourself and just sort of to honor your own journey. And just recognize that this stuff is important and it's not always going to be comfortable. It's not always going to be easy. And that's okay too.
I know exactly why you are in the therapist space. The way that you talk, I don't know that I've ever been to any financial person, tax account, whatever, that talks about shame and despair and having compassion for yourself. Like, you're called to be in this space. You just, emanate, what therapists do and who they are, and really just getting to the emotional aspect of what's in the way, right? Like, because we could talk about strategy and do this, but if we don't address the mindset stuff, we just can't even get there. So
absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there are other people who talk about money and finance like me. There's more and more of us out there in the world, which I think is great, which is really exciting. But I think you hit the nail on the head. It's just like this stuff, it isn't about the numbers and the taxes and the complexity. I mean, yes, that is an element of it, but at the core, money is all about emotions and feelings. And I'm not kidding about reading Pema Chodron. I was reading her just this morning because it's like mindset and just, I think, like dealing with money, both in your practice as well as in your personal life. It is, or can be anyway, sort of a meditative practice. And to me, what meditation really about is like the art of learning how to stay, like just staying there. Like when something uncomfortable shows up, when something a little bit scary shows up, instead of just like, well, I'm out of here, like running out of the room. It's like, okay, I'm just going to stay. I'm just going to stay for a little bit at a time, present moment, looking at what's in front of you, and then taking that next right step.
Amazing. You made me want to jump up and down. I'm very excited.
Good. Yeah.
I love it because you are really speaking just to the language of what I know you said there's many of you out there, but I haven't come across, not that I'm hanging out with financial planners all the time, but I just haven't heard someone speak like this. And it's just so important. So I know we could go into the mindset stuff, but let's jump into a little bit of kind of strategy and holistic financial planning. But before we do that, let's just take a quick moment for our sponsor.
If you're a business owner, the last thing you want to spend your time on is handling payroll, employee benefits, time off requests, and everything else that comes along with managing a team. Let Gusto take these tasks off your plate. Gusto offers all-in-one payroll and HR for growing businesses. From full-service payroll and benefits to team management tools and more, Gusto makes it easy for you to support your hardworking team all in one intuitive platform. Gusto is loved by both businesses and employees. For businesses, having everything in one place is a game changer. With Gusto, most customers are able to run payroll in 10 minutes or less. And Gusto helps with the hard stuff too, like filing payroll taxes, compliance, new state tax registration, and more. Employees love that Gusto's interface is modern, fresh, and extremely intuitive and organized. Whether your team is in person, remote, or a combination, with Gusto, keeping your team on track is easy. Join the more than 200,000 new and growing businesses that are using Gusto to build a great workplace for their employees. Right now, Gusto is offering our listeners 3 months for free at gusto.com/PPS, as in the private practice startup. Get easy payroll, benefits, HR, and a happier team. Go to gusto.com/PPS today.
Let's face it, whenever the federal government institutes new policies, it can be very confusing and overwhelming. As a therapist in private practice, you need to assure your paperwork is up to par with the legal and ethical requirements. In January 2022, the government released a new regulation for medical professionals, including therapists, called the No Surprises Act. But don't stress trying to figure out everything you need to know about the new act and requirements. We've got you covered. This is for therapists who are private pay or work with clients who choose not to use their insurance. So unless you work exclusively with insurance, it is essential to abide by this regulation. We are giving you our good faith estimate bundle for free. It includes attorney-approved customizable templates, a required website statement, a script with a video that goes step by step on how to discuss this with your clients. And don't forget to check out the podcast with our healthcare law attorney, answering all your questions about the Good Faith Estimate and No Surprises Act. Download your free Good Faith Estimate bundle, a total value of $249, but you get it for free by visiting our website, privatepracticestartup.com. Look under the resources tabs and there you'll see it there. Go to privatepracticestartup.com under the resources tab. So Dave, where should we start?
Yeah. So I think the way to start, first of all, the way to start really is always just like wherever you are, and just to be sort of like, just say, okay, let's try to get as clear and organized about where we are, and just sort of like, and make it kind of okay. Like virtually everyone I talk to is just like, oh, I should have done differently. I should have like that. Like I'm no good at numbers. It's just like, okay, we can accept that and maybe even forgive ourselves for past money, quote unquote, mistakes. And let's also reflect on the fact that you've made a ton of incredibly smart, wise, and prudent financial decisions to get you there. It's both and stuff. So let's look at everything that's going on. And then I think like when I start working with someone, the place I always begin is kind of with the practice financials, and just sort of understanding like the basics of, and I say they're basics, but they may be basics, doesn't make them simple and easy to do, but the basics of just understanding, what is my income? How much financial support is my practice providing for me? Understanding what the impact of taxes is going to be, because taxes, especially if you're a solo practitioner or just starting your practice, taxes are probably going to be your single largest expense. So really getting clear about what the impact of taxes will be. And then just how much money do you have left over? And, practice finances, I think one of the important things to keep in mind as well is that it is a small business. And making money is an important element of running a small business. And it's not to be greedy or amass a fortune or whatever. It's to support you. So getting really clear about what your own personal financial needs are. What does it require, like financially, what is required for you to live your great life? And then figure out, okay, what is my practice? What does my small business need to look like from a financial point of view to enable that life to take place without undue financial anxiety, worry, and stress?
Gotcha. So it sounds like you just start off with like a baseline, like here's what's so, right? Let's just look at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Exactly. Here's exactly what's going on. And like the key pieces that I always want to look at is like, just sort of let's think through. There's 4 key pieces. It's the income, what you're earning, how much goes to taxes, how much you're spending to pay off debt, whatever flavors of debt you have in your life. It could be student loan payments, could be mortgages, car payments, et cetera. And then how much are you just spending to support your life? And then what's left over is what's going towards savings. So it's just saying like, okay, like how is everything flowing? Like, how is that working? And, do you have enough money to spend to live the kind of life you want to be leading? And is there money left over to be saving? And if there isn't, that isn't a catastrophe. It's just starting and seeing with as clear of eyes as we can, where are we and what might need to change.
Gotcha. And what are some of the common things that you see therapists like struggling with when it comes to creating this financial plan, or maybe some aha moments that they have when they start working with you?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for a lot of folks, this might sound overly simplistic, but I think it's kind of finding time. It's just sort of carving out the time to sit down with this stuff. And I think the only common element that I've seen amongst therapists who are really successful is, and success, that's kind of a loaded term, but like, what does that mean? But just like have a practice that they feel good about, have life balance they feel good about, have a level of financial support for themselves and their families that they feel good about. I think it's having a consistent money practice. And I think that it sounds simple, but like I call it a money practice. Sometimes I call it like a money date. It's just like having a time on your calendar pretty much every week. I think it kind of has to be every week. It doesn't need to be hours. And in the beginning, it can be quite short, especially if you're finding it super uncomfortable or triggering or something like that. But just putting a dedicated time on your calendar every week to be like, okay, this is my finances time. And in the beginning, that can be just kind of sitting and looking and seeing what's going on and noticing like emotional reactions that you might be having to it, and just keep showing up and beginning to define and look. And, it's kind of like exposure therapy almost, in the sense that you cultivate this practice of showing up and looking at whatever is going on in the finances of your practice, or your personal finance, or your investments, or your retirement account, whatever is kind of bubbling up and on your mind. That just sort of follow your intuition in terms of where to start, but just having that consistent money practice to be aware, just to bring awareness to what's going on. Because I really think the truth of the matter is that everyone listening to this podcast, like, you have the capabilities and you have the knowledge to solve whatever situation or whatever problem, if you want to call it that, you're in. And that might sound a little counterintuitive, right? It's like, I don't know actually how to do this, but you do know how to figure out what it is you don't know. You know how to reach out for help in different circumstances. You have, so I mean, we have the skills to fix and improve our financial health. We just have to give ourselves space to kind of find and develop those skills. And continue our learning process. And this stuff is a lifelong learning process. I learn stuff pretty much every day. There's just so much to learn. And a lot of the learning also refers to kind of internal learning of like, okay, I know what some of these external financial details are, but what is true for me and how does that integrate and what tools are really right for me and where I am in my life right now?
Nice. And then I would just kind of add in there is then taking all of that and making it a consistent habit, like you're saying. And,
yes.
What we do is like we automate that, right? So we might treat ourselves, or part of our self-care is a massage membership, right? And that's just automated. We just get charged. We don't even think about it. And so I think that's just really, really important. Like you're saying, is making that money, it's a practice. And it's just very important. And it's interesting because there's a lot in my world right now about, I'm right in the middle of, my mom's done some estate planning, but we need to get her house. She lives in Connecticut in a revocable trust. And it is one of those things that could just be, it's not that important at the moment. You know what I mean? And I think we think the same things about financial planning and, planning for life insurance and things like that. And it's just, we have to make the time, because when we don't, it's way too late. And it's so important. And, everyone wishes they were investing yesterday and had their retirement set up yesterday. Today's a great day to start. And it doesn't have to be much. It's more about creating the habit. Kate and I have been, had the honor of having Mike Michalowicz on our podcast 3 times talking about profit first. And he's like, even if it's $1, it doesn't matter. It's about creating the habit and starting now, starting today, getting it in the schedule. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, really well said. I think yes, it is like cultivating the habit, building that muscle of just of creating space, like showing up consistently again and again. And it's tricky. It's that important, but not urgent. Like this stuff is never going to be urgent until it's, I don't want to say too late, but when it bubbles up to the point of being really urgent, then your options are a lot more limited and things are going to be more difficult and more painful and more stressful. And if that's where you are, that's okay too. That is just sort of what happens sometimes, and that's okay. And the more you can develop the practice now to begin thinking through all those things, and coming up with estate plans and an overall way to manage risk. That's part of what financial planners like me do. We do as well, is make sure the whole package, everything is here. Yes, saving for retirement. Yes, saving for, other goals, all important, but making sure the whole package, overall financial health is something that is important. And I couldn't agree with you more. It's so well said. It's it's important, but it's never going to feel urgent. So we just have to protect a part of our schedules to allow ourselves to get to this work.
Yeah. And I love that you say, it's not too late. And the reason I say that is, unfortunately, in this last year, I have had 3 female friends lose the father of their children. And there has been no estate planning, no life insurance. And it's devastating, financial planning. Yes, we can look, but when we're talking about life insurance, estate planning, it's so very important. And when you're younger, it's just not, you're younger and healthier. It's just not something that you're thinking about. So, I encourage you guys as you listen, if there's just one thing you do, honor yourself and your family and your commitment and the life that you want to leave, and just take a step today. I know for me, the way that I hold myself accountable is I'll send the email or reach out and make a phone call. I'd like to talk. And then it's okay, I got someone else who's going to call me back and say, hey, how can I help you? Now I'm committed. So that's one thing that I would like for you guys to take away from our conversation today. But what else, David? What else?
Yeah, no, I think you just hit on a part that's really, really important. And that is sort of bringing someone else into it. And that's how I serve a lot of my clients too, is just being someone there, kind of holding the space, sometimes being an accountability partner, but I don't want, that's not a harsh thing either, right? It's just someone to show up and just be okay, what did we say we were going to accomplish last month? How have the last 4 weeks been? Oh, they've been great. Awesome. Oh, they've been awful. I'm sorry. And that's okay. And just sort of having someone else. I mean, I have my own financial planner, not because I couldn't do it myself, but because like I need someone who doesn't live between my two ears in the process with me that like helps me show up. And like, I mean, financial worry, I think I said this before, but financial health is the ability to live your life without undue stress, worry, anxiety, uncertainty. But worry is not something we can necessarily entirely eliminate. Like I'm worried sometimes, like there's an unknown future. So there's things that I'm not sure about. And having someone else there with me, I think having partnership can be really, really valuable. And that doesn't have to be a professional, just like finding peers that you're like, hey, if you're in some type of mastermind group or you just have someone through a local association or however you know them, just be like, hey, I could really use the support of just like, I want to sit down whenever it is every Friday morning and spend 30 minutes on my practice finances. Like, do you want to just like jump on a Zoom together and like every Friday morning at 9 a.m., both of us are just going to sit and like do our own work? Just like having someone else in the process with you, I think can be really, really super helpful. I don't know. There's something magic, it's just like having someone there with you, I think can be really, it's magical. Like I use it in my own personal life, having my own financial planner. I have my own like coaches and consultants that I use in my business. And sometimes it's just like, hey, I just need you to kind of hold me accountable a little bit and just help me show up and work on this a little bit more.
I love that you say that. And I love that you share that you even have a financial plan yourself. It's like therapists going to therapy or getting coaching or something like that. And the reality is, for many times, I think I thought about business. It's like, if I just figure out that one thing that's going to make the big difference, it never is the one big thing.
Gosh.
It's the small little things that make a difference. And Kate and I are actually going right now. We're working with a funnel hacker helping us to improve, our marketing e-course and coaching program to reach more therapists. And it's not the big things. It's just the little adjustments that we can't see because we're in it. Yep. And so I commend you for saying that, because it's like, you're like, this is my lens, this is my worldview, and I might be missing a few things, and you're like, oh, these 3 things can make a huge impact if I just adjust or tweak them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so interesting, right? There's so many times I've thought for my own business, like, oh, the big break, like this is going to like fix everything. And at least today, nothing is ever, there's no big momentous change. It's like that small, consistent improvement. And I think that applies to like really every area of life, or at least most, like diet, health, exercise, financial health. It's just like showing up and doing a little bit, just like a little bit and a little bit. And like that all, it builds on itself. And
Awesome. Well, anything else you want to add that's important when talking about financial planning for your private practice?
Yeah, I think, one of the big things, we've covered a lot of the basic elements, and there is so much, but just like continue to educate yourself, just like always like be getting new tools. We've touched on like just like the very tips of like a lot of different things about like looking at your practice financials and like understanding your own profit and loss statement to, and you like in many cases should have term life insurance to help protect you, protect your loved ones if something were to happen to you. Like there's all these different pieces, and there's a lot of great resources out there. There's a lot of great resources that I have on my website, but like whether you're ready to start working with a financial professional or not, just like educate yourself, and also take a lot of what you read with a grain of salt. There's a lot of financial quote unquote advice out there that is not always going to be the best. It isn't always going to have your best interest at heart. So, I always like talking to like 3 different professionals, like when I'm doing some big move, just being like, okay, just kind of comparing and contrasting and seeing like, who do I resonate with? What advice feels most aligned with me? And just like never stop learning.
And Dave, now that you say that, what would you recommend when therapists interview a financial planner? What should they be asking?
Yeah. So the first thing, like when you talk to a financial planner or financial advisor, there's so many different titles out there for financial professionals. And the truth is that none of them really mean very much of anything. There's not a lot of consistency in how those titles are used. So the first thing is really to understand and get clear about what your needs are. Kind of what are you struggling with? What does success look like? What would you hope to get out of this engagement? What are my pain points today? And then what does it look like once I get through to the other side? And get clear about that first. And there's certainly likely some things you're not aware of or not thinking of, and that's okay. That'll get more kind of fleshed out as you go through an interviewing process. And then when you talk to a potential financial professional, whatever title they hold, is to just really tell me, like, how do you work? Like, what services do you provide? What do you help with? If there's a really particular or acute pain point you have in your financial life, just understand what their approach would be to it to make sure that they actually even provide what it is you're looking for. That's a really important piece. And then the second thing that I encourage everyone to do is understand how that professional gets paid, because there's a lot of hidden commissions and stuff that happens in the financial world. That's a whole separate story, but understanding two things: how you as the client would pay that professional. How do you pay them? And then secondly, what other ways do they earn money off of your business? And that it might be a little bit of an uncomfortable question to ask. And as a client, you have absolutely every right to learn about that, because there's so many financial quote unquote professionals, and I do use that term a little bit loosely, who make a lot of their money, maybe honestly most of their money, through commissions and fees that they make by steering you or selling you particular insurance products or investment products. And that doesn't necessarily make them a bad financial professional or going to give you bad advice. And you need to understand that.
Gotcha. And I'm glad that you shared that. And recently, actually this week, and then I learned even more so, I already knew about fiduciaries, but fiduciaries that aren't brokers, because then they can make commission off of the products that they sell. Is that correct? Yeah.
So there's like the F word, fiduciary. Like it's a confusing one. And yes, I do recommend working with a fiduciary financial planner. And like that's the standard I hold myself to. And all that fancy word means is that you have to put the client's interest ahead of your own. And that is a good thing to me. But like you bring up a great point that there are fiduciaries out there who also still kind of like can be squishy a little bit about how they approach business. So what I really recommend is that you work with something that's known as a fee-only financial planner. And fee-only, if it's a fee-only planner like I am, they will always be a fiduciary. You can't be a fee-only planner and not be a fiduciary. I mean, technically, I guess you could, but no one really would be. And that means fee-only means the only money that I earn is what my clients pay me directly. So you can have confidence knowing if I recommend life insurance or an investment product or whatever, there's no hidden commissions or fees that I'm getting. And incredibly, a fee-only planner is different than a fee-based planner, which is just like a ridiculous, I think it's ridiculous the way like the financial industry and the regulatory sort of governance structures expects consumers to figure this out. But fee-based means that they actually are earning commissions. Fee-only means it's just what the client is paying. So there are excellent fee-based advisors out there, but I just recommend starting with a fee-only and just understanding and getting clear about where conflicts of interest might lie.
Awesome. Man, I know I could talk about this for a lot. It's funny because I see Kate smiling over there. She knows I'm the numbers person in the relationship. So I could geek out on this stuff for sure.
I'm smiling and nodding my head. Those of you listening can't see that. And it's been great information that you've given to us, Dave. And it's so cool to hear you talk, because you really, I mean, you sound like a therapist. You fit right in with us.
I love it.
You know the pain points, you know the struggles that we have, and how to connect with us in a way to make us feel more comfortable stepping into the uncomfortable. For many therapists, like we were talking about earlier, aren't really comfortable with this stuff. And it's a whole new world, and there's so much to know. So to have somebody to help us become more confident, more competent, and really be more intentional with both our personal and professional finances and goals. I mean, it's just an amazing resource. So thank you for being here today. And I know it's a bit more quiet. Katie lights up at this stuff, and I'm like,
I do.
Girl, run with it. Run with it.
Talk taxes to me. Awesome. Dave, what do you want our audience to take away from your message today?
Yeah, the most important thing is just like, you can absolutely do this. I mean, I think like most people that I talk to, they're like, oh, I'm not a numbers person, or this stuff doesn't come naturally to me. And I get that. But if you look back on all the amazing accomplishments that you've made to get you to this point, grad school, maybe even beyond grad school, sitting for certification exams, you figured so much out. This finance stuff, you absolutely can do it. You have the ability to figure it out. And yes, going into business for yourself, running your own private practice, that adds some complexity to your financial life. And I think it's absolutely like, if you feel called to work in private practice and be a practice owner, you should absolutely do it. Create space for this finance stuff and just keep coming back, like the consistent process that we've talked about. And this stuff will absolutely click for you. It may take a while, but you absolutely can do it.
You're amazing. The more that you talk, I'm like falling in love with you, that you're in our space. It's amazing. So I'm going to ask you all who's listening and have been inspired by this and feel like you need to get on top of your, financial future and want to make a difference. Dave, where can people find you and say your contact information twice? So get ready. I'm giving you guys a pause so you can write this down or type it in, because I'm going to ask you to make the commitment that I make myself when I'm in the moment, is just get connected to somebody so you can get accountable and get this moving for yourself. So where can people find you?
Yeah, best place to find me is my website. So the name of my firm is Turning Point. So the web address is turningpointhq.com. HQ like the abbreviation for headquarters, so turningpointhq.com. And on my website, I have a ton of free resources to help you begin that educational journey. One that your listeners might find particularly interesting is on my resources page. So it's not the main homepage, but if you go to the resources page, there are a ton of resources there, as the title might indicate. And towards the top, I also offer sort of a free private practice 101, all about building a profitable and sustainable private practice. There's like a free 40-minute webinar in there, as well as a bunch of worksheets and other things to help you think through and plan the financials of your practice, such that your practice, your profession, can support you financially adequately. And that is the keystone element of financial health.
Awesome. So Turning Point HQ as in headquarters.com. And then what is your giveaway for our audience?
Yeah, so there's multiple giveaways. Actually, you can find all kinds of giveaways on my website. But the Private Practice 101 webinar is what you'll get if you sign up. There is also I also offer for free if you sign up. Right on my homepage, there's a finance quick start guide for therapists, and that's like if you're just getting started and you're like, okay, that's a little bit broader. It's everything in your financial life, and it just allows you to sort of take an inventory and begin organizing, which is really one of the first key steps of just getting organized, taking an inventory, understanding what's what. So both of those free tools are available for free on my website.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here and saying yes to being a guest on our podcast. And it was great, important. I'm glad you're in our space, and we hope that you have the ability to help many therapists in the space. So we're excited about that.
Great. Thanks so much. It's really been a pleasure.
Yes. Thanks for being here, Dave. Startup Nation, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we encourage you to subscribe, rate, and review our show. Of course, if there's a fellow colleague or friend that needs to hear this episode today, please share it with them. We love to be able to spread the information and help people to really live their dream life and have a practice that they love as well. So thanks again, Dave, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Stay inspired, everybody. Thanks for joining us on The Private Practice Startup. Visit theprivatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, free trainings, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and so much more.